focals, beads, all of the wonderful things that JTV and Jewel School have to offer to add to your jewelry making journey. I've got fun stuff in today's show, you guys. I cannot wait to show you. I am happy to see all of you, though. Thank you for letting me be a part of your Friday afternoon. Welcome in to all of you. Lots of familiar faces and some new faces as well. Hello. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Judy. How are you? I hope you're having a good one. It is, it is really good to see everybody. Hi, Kathy. How are you? Welcome in. I hope you guys have had a good week so far, and I hope that I can help to round out the end of your work week and give you some inspiration, right? Give you some inspiration and some really cool things to work with. All right, everybody. So let's talk about a few of our little housekeeping topics before we get started with today's show. First and foremost, I want for you guys to take notice of the shop button that is at the bottom corner of your screen. At any point during today's show, you can hit that button and it is going to bring up all of the information about all of the items that are included in today's show. You are going to be able to see all of the items as far as like all the specs, if you will, right? As far as like the bead sizes and the strand sizes and, you know, how much everything is, which I don't talk about a whole lot here, but you definitely can get that information from that shop button. So you can click on that at any point during the show if you want more information about what you see, and you can add those to your cart and check out all while still watching the show, which is pretty awesome, right? It just makes me small. I don't go anywhere, so you don't have to miss a beat. However, if you do happen to miss something, you can always come back and watch this as a video on demand, which means you can replay this any old time you want to, and that's particularly helpful for the times when maybe you order something from the show. It takes a couple of days for it to make it to your doorstep and you've forgotten what it is that you wanted to do with those items. You can always come back and watch this on replay and be re-inspired. So lots of cool things, lots of cool features, makes things much easier, especially when you don't have to navigate away from the page. You can do it all and you don't have to miss anything, right? Hi, Gina. Hi, Susie. Hi, Cecilia. It's so good to see you. Welcome in. Welcome in. Guys, hit the heart buttons if you love anything in today's show, right? I'm calling you out. I'm calling you out. I want you to hit those heart buttons. I want you to hit that heart button, Kathy. I'm picking on you. Hit that heart button. Wanda, you hit that heart button too. Guys, hit those heart buttons anytime you see something in the show today that you love, whether it is a technique or a component or a bead, or you are just feeling particularly loving. Hit those heart buttons. That is a great way for me and everyone else to know that you're still there. And I'm not just talking to myself. No. I'm only kidding. I know that you're there. I know that you're there. But those heart buttons are a great way to stay interactive and letting me know that I'm giving you exactly what it is that you want from Master Maker. So I definitely appreciate the heart buttons. And if you are feeling even more loving, if you want to help out even more, share this anywhere in social media where you are allowed to do so. So if you happen to be part of a Facebook group that allows you to share these kinds of videos, please share those, or you are more than welcome to share these to your own social media feeds as well. It's a great way to reach all of the makers out there who don't yet know about us. Can you believe it? There are still people out there who don't know about Jewel School, don't know about JTV, don't know about JTV Extra, don't know about Master Maker. And the best way to reach a lot of those people is by virtual word of mouth. And we do that by giving this a share. So we definitely appreciate it. It's a great way to help out the show and to help build our community and bring in all of the makers who don't know anything about us just yet, right? They don't know that they're part of this community yet. We've got a spot open for them right now. All right, so I've gotten all the housekeeping out of the way. Now it is time to get down to business. So I've got stuff in today's show. Let me tell you a little bit about this before I get started with what you can see in this show. So I'm going to kind of keep things at least this week and next week, and maybe the week after that. I don't know. It just kind of depends on how I'm feeling, but I've got Halloween and spooky season on the brain. I don't know about you, right? But it is that time of year. And so my projects for the next week or two are going to be kind of geared towards that. And then we'll just move into like some more kind of general fall. And then of course, you guys know the holidays, Christmas and Hanukkah is right around the corner, and New Year's, if you can believe it. I'm going to kind of focus my projects on spooky season, but I don't want that to turn you away because I know not everybody is into spooky season and doesn't like to make Halloween jewelry, and that's okay. Know that everything that you see in today's show can be used in a bunch of different ways. So even if you're not really digging today's project, at least take a look at the sparkle and the interesting beads that I've got in today's show, because you can literally use them in any way, shape, or form, okay? And that's true for not just today, but for the rest of the month as well. I just don't want anybody to feel like, oh, I'm just not really into Halloween season. That's okay. You don't have to be. I've still got really pretty beads that you can use in a lot of different ways. So stick around if you are looking for a fun Halloween project. I'm going to be making some spider webs today. Yeah, and actually this will probably be the first of a couple of spiderweb projects you're going to see from me. So it's a fun thing you can do with wire, right? It's a fun thing you can do with wire, and you can make some little wire spiders to stick to those if you want to. All right, let's talk about what is in the show today before we get too far into the project, all right? I've got some beautiful beads for you, and I've got some earring components and some wire. So I'm going to get you turned around, and we are going to get started with those things right now. All right, so let's start out with the beads, right? Can't go wrong with some sparkle. And I have Chinese crystal glass beads. These are 8mm rondelle strands. This is a set of 6 different colors, and the strands are 16 to 17 inches long each. This is a wonderful way to stock up. The strands are so long I have to fold them in half, okay? So this one is, this is like a blue-black. I'm not entirely sure what exactly you would call this color. I do believe it is a black, but because of the facets that are on there, it does give it a little bit of a blue hint to it. Would I mix this with my blacks? Yes. Would I mix this with my blues? Yes. It's all of the above. It is an absolutely beautiful bead though. And that is not all I've got. Remember, this is a set of 6. I've got a really cool kind of bronzy goldy color here, which is absolutely beautiful. This is a great color for fall. This is a great color for spooky season. This is a great color for fall. I've got a metallic, you guys, such a beautiful strand. There is everything here. There is purple, there is blue, there is green, there is gold. All of that is in this beautiful strand. This metallic we have been seeing everywhere. This is not just popular in jewelry making right now. It's popular in housewares. It's popular in all kinds of things. So for instance, I have a whole set of silverware, believe it or not, that is this metallic stuff. My pots and pans, I have this metallic handles on them. So we're seeing this metallic trend really kind of sticking around. And if you want to stay on trend, grab this little bundle here, because there is a ton of those beautiful metallics and some other colors to mix with them. For instance, look at this beautiful blue. This blue is going to be perfect. Guys, we talked about it just a second ago about how the holidays are right around the corner. It's funny. It's like when school season starts, it seems like that's kind of like the marker to the top of the slide for the end of the year. Does anybody else feel that way? We get to when school season, back to school starts, and then it just seems like this downhill slide race to New Year's. It's just this insane, goes by so quickly. So holiday jewelry, if you are going to make some winter pieces, some Hanukkah pieces, any kind of beautiful like winter ball type pieces, that blue is not only going to be perfect for that, but it's also going to be great for holiday decorations. If you're crafty and you want to add a little sparkle, that blue is perfect for that. And then I've got another kind of a blue green that is also going to work in the same way. And I do want to point out that these two colors look amazing with this metallic strand as well. Not that this bronze doesn't, because it does, but the blue and the green here, oh, so pretty. So pretty. Love that. And then last but not least is a beautiful purple strand, which also looks beautiful with that metallic strand as well. So absolutely great way to Wanda says, Bronzy Goldie, Sarah is not in charge of marketing color names. You are I love it when Wanda calls me out. You are right about that. I am not. Just keeping it real here. You know, you never know. I'm just as surprised at everybody else as what comes out of my mouth sometimes. So, I mean, oh my goodness. Okay. Back to work, guys. Back to work. My goodness. I've got 6 different colors, 6 strands. Again, these are 8mm rondelle. They've got the beautiful facets. This is a great way to stock up on sparkle if you would like to do so. Love, love, love these. All right. So I'm going to sit these to the side. Gina says these would make anything classy. I agree. You add a little bit of sparkle and you've got class. That's just kind of the way it is, right? All right, gonna sit those to the side. Now, if sparkle is not your game, or if you wanna just mix something a little different with your sparkle, or you're just looking for a totally different mood altogether, I've got 1 pound of black and gray shades, mixed bead parcel in assorted shapes and sizes. This is a really fun pound of beads, you guys. Really, really fun. Now, not only are we looking at some grays and blacks that are going to be perfect for spooky season if you're going to be creating some really fun designs for that, but this is a wonderful palette of inspiration, right? This is not just black and gray. This is like black and gray and everything in between. There are creams, there are browns, there are different shades of gray in here, and lots of texture and shape, which makes this a whole lot of fun. Not only that, but there are some really big chunky pieces in this that I think are phenomenal. Look at this piece. How amazing would this be to be the focal of a necklace design? Right? Could you imagine building a beautiful necklace around this? This even has red in it. So if you're looking to mix and match something a little moody, maybe, right? This is absolutely beautiful. And that's not the only big piece that's in here. I'm kind of a fan of the big pieces. I'm not sad about the big pieces. Look at this teardrop. Now, everybody's parcel obviously is going to be different, but I do feel like everybody's parcels are going to have some of these large, chunky monkey pieces in them, which I absolutely love. They're going to make great focals. You can wire wrap around them. You can use them as the superstar in your statement pieces, or you can just use them on their own. Put them on a beautiful piece of leather or a beautiful piece of chain, and you've got instant gratification jewelry right at your fingertips. Look at these big pieces. They're awesome. And then, guys, there are pieces of lava stone in here as well. You can add your natural oils to these to make these smell wonderful. Plus, they're just trendy and cool. There's lots of those in this mix. Right? Lots of really cool pieces. Lots of texture, like I said. And then there is some sparkle in here as well. There are some faceted check glass in here. There is some mother of pearl shell beads mixed in here. So this is a really awesome mix. And I do want to say, guys, that there are only a handful of these. So if you're even thinking about grabbing these, I wouldn't wait too terribly long because there's only a handful of these in stock. So you definitely want to act on that before they get sold out. But we're going to pull from this today to create some of our projects. So, all right, now we've got the beads. Now we need some things to work with the beads, right? Gina says, laughing is a blessing, except at inappropriate times, which I have been known to do. I'm not real sure what the conversation was before that, but I feel that deep down in my soul. I laugh at everything. It's just kind of like giggling and laughter is sort of my default setting, right? If you've been around me a while, you know that I will laugh even when I'm very uncomfortable. It's just kind of my coping mechanism, but I'm also just generally kind of a happy-go-lucky, giggly kind of person no matter what. And yeah, it tends to be inappropriate at the worst times, right? All right, I've got some stainless steel artistic wire for you in 18, 20, and 22 gauge. Guys, this is another one where there is only a handful of these in stock. So if you want to go ahead and grab those, I wouldn't wait on that too long. But this is another wonderful way to stock up on wire. These are the 3 gauges that I grab for the absolute most. If you've been with me a while, you know that the 22 gauge is my go-to gauge for everything. I'm a 22 gauge girl, but I find that you're either or. You're either a 22 gauge person or a 20 gauge person. And what's great about this little set of 3 is that you don't have to be one or the other. You can be both, right? You can be both. And if you are just beginning your journey with wire, it may be helpful to have both so that you can figure out which one you like the best. Now, I will go ahead and tell you ahead of time, this is stainless steel. So this is a very, very strong wire. Now, artistic wires are known to be dead soft wires. The stainless steel is a dead soft artistic wire, but it has a little extra structure to it. So you're going to need to know in advance, this does have a bit of a temper to it. So it does take a little extra. So if you put this next to your purple or your green artistic wire, you're going to find that the stainless steel is just a little bit harder to work with. And I don't mean harder by experience level. I just mean that it's a harder wire. But the stainless steel color is going to be the perfect addition to any of your pieces where you are using antique silver, right? If you're using antique silver ear wires, or you're using antique silver chain, or your findings, your focals are antique silver, the stainless steel matches really, really nicely with all of that. You've got the 18 gauge wire here, which is one of my favorite wires to build components with. So if you're going to be making ear wires on your own, or if you want to make pendants and things like that, this is a great wire to work with. It's a really nice strong wire for using as armatures. So you can really get creative with this set. So that's all 3, the 22, 20, and 18 gauge in this beautiful stainless steel color. I'm going to set those to the side, and I've got one more set of goodies to show you guys. I have got, let's see, stainless steel. Speaking of the stainless steel, I've got stainless steel earring component findings. This is approximately 160 pieces. I'm going to bring them all out to you. I've got 6 different styles here. 6 different styles. So if you are going to be doing any craft fairs, if you are making holiday gifts for friends or family or just for yourself, you're going to need to stock up on findings, and this is a really nice way to do that. You've got a ton to work with here. There are, like I said, 6 different styles. So we've got the lever back style in 2 different shapes. So we've got the round, and then we have the more kind of classic. They're in the stainless steel, so it's going to, again, match with the stainless steel wire I just showed you, as well as any of your antique silver pieces, though I would mix this with other things as well. This looks really cool with hematite colored, like your gunmetal colored metals. It also looks really beautiful with bright silver. So there are the 2 of the lever backs. You've got 2 different ones of the larger kind of kidney wires. These are a lot of fun to work with because you can add beads to these. You just open these up like so, and then if you would like to add a little extra sparkle to these, you can just drop some beads down on these, as well as hanging your actual earring design from them. But you can stack up beads on these to take these to the next level, right? And then you just close these back, and those beads are going to stay right there. Love this style. This is a really, really popular style. Not only is it cool because you can add the beads to it, but it's a really comfortable ear wire to wear as well. You're getting a lot of those to choose from. So you've got those 2 different sizes. Then you have these. These are kind of cool. This is like a twist on the modern ear wire. Again, this is a very comfortable shape to wear because it's nice and rounded. You've got a nice large hole here, which means it's going to accommodate a lot of different sizes of stringing materials, which is nice because sometimes you're using some thicker gauge wires, and maybe the smaller little holes like the ones on the lever backs are just not quite big enough. You can see the difference there. So this one's got a small hole. This one's really going to accommodate some multiple strand designs if you wanted to, or if you were going to knot onto this with some cords. That large hole is really, really nice for those kinds of designs. Plus, like I mentioned, it is a really comfortable ear wire to wear. And then last but not least, we've got a classic. And these classic ones are a little shepherd's hook, though that is not the official term. That is what they definitely look like to me. They've got just really easy to wear. This is one of those earring styles that never goes out of style, right? It's very, very common, and a great one to add to any of your pieces. So yeah, ton to work with. 160 different pieces. You divide that into, that's what, 80 different pairs of earrings? That's a ton of earrings. 80 sets of earrings, that would fill up an entire craft booth. I'm just saying. Or if you needed to fix up the earring section of your website, that's going to do it right there for sure. What's cool about this though is that because you have all of these different styles, let's say you are doing a craft booth, right? Let's say that you're going to your craft booth and you always want to carry with you, of course, your tools and some extra findings with you. Let's just say you've got some earrings out on the table and you've got a customer that's standing there and they're like, you know what? I love these earrings, but the ear wire is just not my favorite. If you've got a set like this, you can go into your work bag, grab these out and say, you know what? I will swap those out for you. Easy peasy. You just tell me which style is the most comfortable for you and I'll swap them out for one of these styles. So you can really accommodate a whole lot of customers and customers' needs by having a lot of different styles to choose from. Because what works for one person, like my opinions about what are the most comfortable, may not be somebody else's. So it's really nice to have a lot of options. And this beautiful stainless steel color is going to mix really well with everything. All right, so I'm going to set these to the side and we are going to talk about making some spider webs. You want to make some spider webs? I think we should make a spider web and then maybe turn it into a beautiful pendant using some of the beads that I showed you from that mixed parcel. So here's what I was thinking. This bead from the parcel was really, really calling to me when I dumped that parcel out. And I was like, you know, this wants to be the star of the show. It needs a little help, but it really wants to be a nice focal. You can see it's a really nice large coin bead. It is absolutely beautiful all on its own, but we need to make a spooky necklace. Let's make a spooky necklace to go out, I don't know, to a, let's say the office Halloween party, right? You don't want to wear a whole costume, but you do want to show that you're on the festive side. What if we put together a cute little wire spider web and we hung our little spider web on either side? I don't think it makes much of a difference. Put our spider web here and put our beautiful focal and then another one of those beautiful black beads from that mix, right? And what if we did at the bottom a little chain tassel with some more of those beautiful black beads, maybe 5 of those? What do you think? I think this would be a beautiful little project and a beautiful necklace to throw on that is really easy to wear, and you still got a ton of beads and a ton of wire to work with, right? I mean, if we're sticking with what we've got in the show today, right? You could even make a couple of pairs of spiderweb earrings to go with it and throw those on with one of those beautiful ear wires that I just showed you. All right, so I'm going to show you how to put this together, and then we actually will turn this into a wearable necklace. All right, so based on the wire that I showed you, I am using some 18 gauge. I mentioned when we were looking at that set of wire that the 18 gauge is kind of my go-to when I'm making components. That is exactly what we're going to be using to create our spider web base. I'm using 3 pieces of 18 gauge wire for the core, if you will, our structure. And then I'm going to be using some 24 gauge wire to do the spider webbing itself. Now, just because I'm using 24 doesn't mean that you can't use something different. If you want to use that 22 gauge wire for this, you absolutely can do that. It really kind of is just going to depend on how big you want your spider web to be. The bigger the spider web, I probably would go with a thicker wire like the 22. The smaller, I might even go as small as 26 gauge. Okay, but I'm going to show you how to put this together, and then we will turn it into a pendant. So I've got 3 pieces of 18 gauge wire here, and again, depending on how big you want your spider web to be is really going to kind of depend on how long your pieces of wire need to be. Now I have over measured here. My pieces are about 6 inches long each. I definitely don't need that much to make a pendant this size, but it's always nice to be safe than sorry when it comes to wire. Plus, if you've got extra wire like this, I'll show you where you can add some beads to this if you wanted to. Okay. All right. So I've got my 3 pieces, and then I've got a nice long piece of 24 gauge wire for this. And we're going to start out. We're going to start out with one of these pieces. All right. So I'm going to take one piece of my 18 gauge wire. I'm going to lay my 24 gauge wire right over that sort of towards the middle, but it doesn't matter so much at the moment because all of this is going to be movable. Okay, so I've got my short ends here on my non-dominant side, that's going to be my tail, and then my long end, I've got probably 24 inches, maybe a little bit more than that, of the 24 gauge wire. Now, again, if you're making a larger spider web, you're probably going to need a little bit more than that. But if you're making a really small one, you could go with less. Okay. I'm going to take this wire and I'm going to anchor it to this one piece of 18 gauge wire with about 2 or 1.5 wraps here. Now we will be cutting the tail off very soon, but for now I'm just going to hold that in place. Now I can slide this around. So that's why I say it doesn't matter if you're not quite in the center at the moment. That's okay because you're still going to be able to kind of adjust as we go. I'm going to take a second piece of my 18 gauge wire and I'm going to lay that behind. Now you can lay it across the front if you want to. It's totally up to you. It makes absolutely no difference. But I'm going to lay mine to the back and it is going, so my first piece is going side to side. This one is going up and down. I'm going to slide my wire wraps right over to that. Okay, now the first couple passes of this are a little tricky, but once you get everything wrapped together, you'll see it comes together quite nicely. So I'm going to take that 24 gauge wire that I wrapped around the first piece with, and I'm going to come at an angle to wrap around the new piece. And I may have to kind of adjust, turn everything in my hand just a little bit, but I'm going to take that and I'm going to wrap around the second piece once and twice. Okay, so I have anchored those two pieces. I've wire wrapped those together. Okay, and I'm trying to keep them as perpendicular as possible so that I've got some right angles here. Because when we bring in our third wire, which we're going to do right now, we want to intersect all of that. I'm going to lay this one, again, to the back. Or you can bring it up here and put it on the front if it's easier for you to hold on to. But I'm going to lay mine to the back, and I want it to go in between the other two wires. So I'm kind of creating like a star shape, almost like a snowflake. Right? And I'm going to hold that wire in place while I take that 24 gauge wire and I'm going to wrap around that new piece of wire that we brought in once and twice. And I'm pushing those wires as close to the center as I possibly can. Okay, now everything's connected here. It's very loose. Nothing is tight at the moment. That's okay. The most important part is that I can actually let go and I don't have to worry that I'm going to lose anything. Okay, now this is where the pattern kind of starts to take shape. Okay, I'm going to cut the tail off here in just a second, but for now I'm just going to kind of hold on to it. What I want is for my wires to be as evenly distributed as possible, right? So that I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 triangles here. We want to try to keep those as even as we can. And we are going to wire wrap from one to the other. So I'm coming off of the new wire that I just added up to this wire. I'm going to wrap around once, all the way around. And then my second wrap around is actually where I'm going to jump across. And I'm going to jump across to the other wire. I'm going to wrap all the way around it once, up a second time, and that second time is going to be my jump across to the next wire over. Okay, so I'm going to wrap around it once, wrap around a second time, and that's going to be my jump over. But my tail is in the way here, so we're actually going to undo that. I'm going to come back here to the back. I'm going to grab my cutter tool, and I'm going to trim that off. That's going to clean this up really quickly. Makes a big difference. All right, one of the other things I want to do is I want to make sure that I am pushing all of those wires as close to the center as I possibly can at this point, just because the center of this is not the prettiest. I mean, it has to come together somewhere. This is my least favorite. The first two passes are my least favorite, and the rest of this looks really nice. But here in the beginning, you want to keep it all as close to the center as you possibly can. And again, trying to keep your wires as even as you can keep them. Okay, now things will still slide on you, so if you need to adjust, you could just pull one wire or another. Okay, all right, so we're going to continue our path. So I'm jumping to the next wire, going to wrap around once, all the way around, and then my second wrap around is going to be the crossover. So I'm just going to kind of rotate this in my hand, and I'm crossing the wire over to the next wire, wrapping all the way around once, and then a second time. And when I come up for the second time, we're going to hop over to the next wire. Okay. And now it's really going to start to take shape, and we're not going to change that up. Okay. We're just going to keep doing that. So wrap around once, your second wrap around is your crossover. And you'll see this will really start to look like a spider web the further we go. So for me, it's just easier for me to kind of rotate the whole thing in my hand. If it's easier for you, just to hold it still, that's fine too. Whatever works for you. Now you can really see how those two wraps are going to create the distance that you need. So let me show you the finished little sample here. The two wraps are necessary to create the spacing between each layer of the spider's web, right? If we did it just a wrap and then over, a wrap and then over, our spaces here would be so close together that it would be a tight spider web, which is fine, but I like to have mine a little bit more open. It's a little bit more whimsical and a little less creepy. Now, if creepy is what you're going for, right, then don't do the two wraps. Just do one. It'll keep it nice and compact, and it really kind of looks like a real spider web, which for me is just a little too much, because I'll be honest with you, I'm not much of a spider or spider web kind of person. I only make an exception for spooky season. just saying. All right, so we're coming over to the next, and then you still in the beginning probably need to push things over either with your tools or with your fingernails, right, to slide everything over, because we do want those wire wraps to still be nice and neat, even though they are coming out a bit, right? We still want to keep the overall look of them. This is the back. You can see how nice and lined up and close together those wraps are. That's the goal here. Okay, so wrap around once, around the second time is the jump over. Wrap around once, wrap around a second time, and that's the jump over. All right, and we're just going to repeat this pattern, building outwards. Okay, wrap around, and jump over. Wrap around and jump over. Now, this exact same technique can be used to make snowflakes. So if you are looking for making some winter designs, this is a fantastic way to build the base for a snowflake. You could do a couple of passes and then stop, right? And you've bound together your three pieces of wire. And then at that point, you could just load these up with some beautiful beads and make a really sparkly, wonderful snowflake if you wanted to. So this is really one of those kind of techniques that you can use for multi-purpose technique, right? Though it does make a great spider web, it is a wonderful base for something less spooky and something a little bit more shiny and sparkly. All right, so we're just going to keep going, and you're going to build this out however big you want your spider web to be. Now, if you want to do earrings, this might be a nice place to stop, right? That's pretty small. It would make a great little earring. If you want to make a really big statement piece, you can go all the way out to these edges out here. Totally up to you. We're going to kind of stop somewhere in the middle, because we don't want it to be huge. We're still using that beautiful bead from our mixed bead parcel. So I don't want it to be bigger than my bead, maybe just a little bit smaller. Okay, so been around, we're going around once, going around a second time, and that second time is the crossover to the other wire. So around once, around a second time, cross over, around once, around and cross over, around once and cross over. Still kind of need to tidy up the wire as you go. Now, if you wanted to add a fourth piece of wire to this to bisect these two, you absolutely could. So where we started in the middle, you would just add one more piece of wire before you started building your spider web outwards. It is completely up to you. That makes a nice spider web as well. You have like 8 spokes instead of just the 6, but I think the 6 works really well. Okay, we're just going to keep going. Wrap around and cross over. Wrap around and then cross over. And you can, if you've got nylon jaw pliers, you want to straighten your wire as you go, you can do that. So I know sometimes, depending on the gauge of the wire or what you've got going on with your hand, sometimes you crinkle the wire up and it needs a little straightening. I try to do as much of it with my fingers as I can, but sometimes you get a crinkle in that wire that even your fingers can't get out, right? So grabbing those nylon jaw pliers is often very helpful. Keep going across here. So we're getting there. A few more passes and this one will be as big as I want it to be. You definitely can create some really large craft pieces here. So in the comments, there's a little talk about that, and you absolutely can create this on a larger scale. If you wanted to do like some window decorations, you could create some really cool larger scale spider webs. Like if you came all the way out to the edges of your 6 inches of wire. And you could create some little wire spiders to go on, to sit on the surface here, or just some pre-made spiders that you get from the store if you wanted to. But these don't just have to be jewelry pieces. You can use these as craft pieces that you use as your actual decorations for around your house. Absolutely can do that. And the same can be said for if you're going to use these to create snowflakes. These make beautiful snowflakes that you can hang, in the window, or if you wanted to do a nice little vignette and you wanted to put these, say, in front of a mirror, you absolutely could do that. You can make sun catchers with these. So speaking of the sun catchers, one of the things I wanted to mention about this was the addition of beads. So if you wanted to keep this very whimsical and light and fun and not particularly spooky, you could do a couple of things here. One of my favorite things to do with this is to take a couple of very small seed beads or just smaller beads. You could use very small bicones, 3 millimeter, 2 millimeter. And as you're going across, particularly where things starting to widen up a little bit and you've got a little bit more room, if you wanted to pop a bicone, a crystal bicone, or a clear seed bead, a clear clear AB seed, or any color for that matter, you can add beads, basically is what I'm trying to say, to your wire. Then all of a sudden it becomes a spider web that maybe has some little dewdrops on it, right? The clear AB or clear beads look like little water droplets that are attached, like you see spider webs early in the morning that still have the morning dew hanging on them. Or if you wanted to use these as beautiful sun catchers, you could add any color of the rainbow beads to these, and then it becomes more of a sun catcher and less of a spider web, right? You can even use colored artistic wire as you're building your web, and it doesn't even have to be a spider web at all. You can just make some beautiful patterns. Start with your pink in the center and maybe then switch to a purple wire and then maybe to a blue wire. Add some beads in between there. This technique can be used in so many different ways to create so many different amazing projects, right? So you don't have to just stick with the spooky season here or snowflakes. You really can think outside the box with these and come up with whatever it is that you want. It's just a really cool little technique that you can use in so many different ways. I do love the addition of the little seed beads though. It's a really kind of a whimsical, it takes it from a spooky place to more of a just kind of a natural, you know, nature kind of place to add the little drops of dewdrops on there. But you can keep it as spooky as you want. You can put a creepy little wire spider on here if you wanted to. It's totally up to you. All right, so we're getting to the size that I want here. So I'm gonna just go once more here and once here, and then we're gonna finish off our wire. So I'm going to go right across here, and this is where I'm going to stop. So I'm going to wrap my wire around once, wrap my wire around a second time, and then I'm going to take it to the back and cut it. All right, I'm going to trim that off. All right, so now we have a cute little spider web. Now, one more thing that I wanted to mention about this that perhaps you haven't thought about is this can be an armature for something else. This can be the base of any other kind of wire mold. Let's say you wanted to make a wire basket or a cup or a bowl or something like that, right? Flip this over, lay it flat, and guide your wires up like this. Let's say you wanted to create a wire pumpkin, a 3-dimensional wire pumpkin. As you are doing your spider web effect with your weaving wire, what if we used orange wire and we went all the way around? What if our wire core, our 18 gauge, was longer wires, bigger wires, where we could create an entire pumpkin and bring all of these 18 gauge wires together at the top, right? There's so many things that are possible with not just wire, but with this technique. But it does go to show that wire can quite honestly be a wonderful medium for any kind of sculpture that you wanted to make. And this little spider web can make a great little base for all kinds of things, right? So hopefully I'm inspiring you, giving you some ideas, because I don't want to alienate anybody who doesn't particularly care about Halloween or spooky designs. I want you to see that this most definitely is a universal kind of technique that you could use for a lot of different things that maybe are not Halloween related. So hopefully I've given you some ideas, right? Another idea is, if you were going to use this, like I mentioned before, is like a snowflake. If you wanted to, now I don't really have snowflake appropriate colored beads here, but let's say you wanted to add a little sparkle to this, you absolutely could. You could fill the rest of the wire up with sparkly beads if you wanted to, or if it was a snowflake, of course, you could fill it all the way up. Totally up to you. So you've got lots of options here, lots and lots of options, but we're going to keep ours as a spider web. So what we're going to do is we are going to finish off our ends with just some simple loops. So I'm going to use my chain nose pliers, and I'm going to grab the wire right at the edge of the last wire wrap that you did, and you're going to give that a bend. Now you can bend to the front, you can bend to the back, makes absolutely no difference, but we're going to create a simple loop here. So I'm going to come in with my cutter tool and trim off, leaving myself about 1/4 of an inch of wire. And then I'm going to use my round nose pliers. So I'm going to grab that wire and I'm going to roll back to close up my loop. Now my loop is small, right? That's because I don't want the loop to take away from the rest of the spider web. So I'm keeping my loops pretty small on this, but that's really going to kind of depend on what you're going to use your spider web for. You may need a bigger loop. It really just kind of depends. If you wanted to take one of them and turn it into an actual like decorative veil, you could do that. Probably want to leave a little bit more wire for that. But I'm just going to do that to each one, creating a little simple loop. And if you need a front-facing loop, you can do that by turning the wire to the side instead of to the back or to the front. Just creating my little loops as I go. Okay. All right, we've got one more to go. So we're going to bend the wire. Coming in with our cutter tool, we're going to trim, leaving ourselves about 1/4 of an inch, and then use the round nose pliers to roll to create your little loop. Okay, so I've got little loops, and when you look at it from the front, because those loops are not front facing, you don't even notice that they're loops, right? Unless you turn it to the side to see. But again, if you needed a front facing loop, you could just take one of those and either twist it so that it faces the front, or you could have done your bending side to side, right? Okay, so now we have a little spider web here. We're going to turn this into a cute little pendant with our beads. So let's see here. We're going to take, let's start at the top here. We're going to start at the top. We're going to use one of those beautiful faceted beads from our mixed bead parcel. And I'm just going to use an eye pin here. Now you could use your own, you could cut your own piece of wire if you wanted to. But I'm going to use an eye pin. I'm going to twist to open, and then I'm going to hook that to one of my loops. I wanted to see what I wanted the center to be. This will be good right here. And then I'm going to close that back. I'm going to thread on my bead on the top. Now, if you wanted some large earrings, this would be cool, just like that, right? Add an ear wire to it, one of those really awesome ear wires from the set that I showed you. Or if you wanted to make it a little bit smaller to make an earring, this is a little big, but it looks awesome just like it is. So if you wanted to wear it as an earring, hey, I'm all about it. That is totally up to you. I'm going to do a wrapped loop on the top here, and I'm going to make sort of a large loop because we're going to use this as where we thread our chain. So I'm going to make a wrapped loop here. I'm going to use my round nose pliers. I'm going to come back on the round nose pliers back here towards the back, go up and over, rotate the pliers, take the wire over to the other side, and then I'm going to wire wrap in that space. Now, if you wanted to do just like a small loop or another simple loop, you can do that and just use a jump ring as your go-between. I'm honestly just going to thread mine onto chain, so mine will be super easy. But if you wanted to bead an entire necklace around this, you absolutely could. And then maybe if you wanted to do a decorative veil instead of just a wrapped loop or a simple loop, you can do that as well. All of these things are just inspiration, right? You can take all of these things and run with them and turn them into your own amazing creations. So I'm just your little inspiration guide. I can be your wire fairy godmother if you want. Though I do love other things as well. Wire is my love language, but I do a whole lot of other things as well. All right, so there's our loop. It's facing away from us. I'm going to be able to just thread that on, or thread my chain through that loop. But now down here at the bottom, I'm going to add my bead. But before I do that, I want to create a little tassel because I'm always on the extra side of things. So I've taken a few pieces. I've already done 4 of these, but we're going to do one together. I've taken a couple of short little pieces of chain here and wire wrapped some more of those beads from that mixed bead parcel. I just picked out some black ones, but you could have just as easily used gray for this if you wanted to, or a different shape. But it is a bead wire wrap to a short little piece of chain to create a little beaded tassel. So let's do that real quick. And then we will attach all of this together and have a cute little necklace. All right, so I'm going to thread this on to a head pin. Okay, and I'm going to do a wrapped loop here. So I'm going to take my chain nose pliers, grab the wire where it is exiting the bead, bend the wire, just like we did on the top of our pendant there. All right, and we're going up and over, rotate, take the wire over to the other side, and then I'm going to wire wrap. My wire is very, very soft here, so just straighten all that up just a little bit. Okay, then I'm going to come in with my cutter tool and trim off. Thank you, Mary. Thank you so, so much. I appreciate that more than you know. Susie says, I love that Sarah is all about the extra. It speaks volumes to me. I love that too. I love that too. Listen, I am extra, so those of you who are either extra, you identify with me, or those of you who are not extra, you don't want crazy statement pieces, you can find the spot to stop. Sorry, my cutter tool is it's a little dull right on the tip there. But if I give you wild, crazy, big statement pieces a lot of the time, then you can take those and you can cut them down to your own, right? You know where the stopping point is for you. I very seldomly know when to stop with things when it comes to jewelry making. So like if this was your stopping point, I get it. And that's wonderful. And I'm glad that I got you to that point. But if you're ready for the next level and this is your stopping point, cool. If that's not, and you want the extra with the tassel, cool, right? I've just given you what 3 different options. So yeah, it's always good, at least in my eyes as the instructor, to be able to show you something over the top that you can bring down to whatever your comfort zone is, right? Instead of not giving you enough. Always have to give you extra. All right, so I'm gonna use the tiniest little jump ring here, though I could have just wire wrapped my bead directly to my chain, but I'm gonna pop my little bead on there and then my little pre-cut piece of chain and close that back. Now I've done that with 5 of the beads from the mixed bead parcel. Okay, and I'm gonna take an eye pin. I'm going to open that eye pin and I'm gonna thread on all of those little pieces of chain. So there's 1, 2. Now I made sure that I chose very small fine chain for this so that they would all fit on this loop. If they don't fit on the eye pin loop, you can use a jump ring as your go-between here. So you don't have to feel like, oh, I don't have a chain that's small enough. Okay, now I'm going to very gently close that loop back. Got myself a little chain and bead tassel. I'm going to thread my beautiful focal on. And I'm going to do a simple loop on the top of this, and then we will add it to our spider web. All right, coming in with my cutter, trimming off. Round nose pliers, roll that back, and then I'm going to very gently open that back up and thread that on to one of the loops on my spider web. And you have got a cute, cute, cute little pendant. And it's not little. I say little. This is not a little pendant. Let's be honest. This is not a small pendant. This is a fabulous, fabulous pendant for anybody who wants to throw on something a little spooky, right? Let's add a piece of chain here for this. Now, again, you could do some smaller versions of these for some earrings if you wanted to. Use some of those fabulous ear wires in that set of ear wires. You could use any of the focals, any of the beads, really, any of those beautiful rondelles or any of the beads from the mixed parcel that you wanted. Super, super cute. I love it. I'm a fan of this time of year, so I get excited when I get to make Halloween or spooky season jewelry. But hopefully I've shown you a lot of other really creative things that you can use this technique for that are not necessarily spider involved. I get it. Not everybody, not everybody is a fan, right? All right, I'm going to turn you guys around and I'm going to put this on so that you can see what this looks like on a bust hanging. And then I am going to part ways with you, my friends. All right, so me personally, I kind of like this on a really long chain. I'm holding this chain kind of short here for the moment, but I think this would be a really cool, like over your head, just throw it on over your head kind of necklace. That way, let's say you've got maybe you're going to the office party at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but you've got a really important meeting at 4. Throw it over your head, put it on and wear it to the office party, and then just take it right off for your super important meeting, right? I mean, I don't know. I'm just thinking, trying to make it accessible for everybody, but there you go, guys. Spooky but elegant, says Kim. I love it. I love it. Susie says she definitely prefers pumpkins over spiders. Well, I got you covered with that, right? You could definitely make a pumpkin out of this if you wanted it to go 3-dimensional. But I feel you on that. I'm more of a pumpkin kind of person too. But you know, wire is one of those wonderful things that you can really make anything out of. So I could see making a pumpkin just as easily, right? Super cool. Super, super cool. Wanda says hold it up as an earring. This is one very large earring, Wanda, but I will because it is for you, my dear. Whoa, now that, even for me, that's a big earring, okay? And I'm extra, but that's a lot. That's a lot. But I could hang this in a window, right? I could hang this in front of a cute little mirror with a little spooky vignette in front of it. I mean, so many different things. So many different things you could do with this, right? All right, friends, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for letting me be a part of your beading journey, as always. I appreciate you hanging out with me this Friday afternoon. I hope that I have inspired you. And don't forget to set your reminders, guys, for Monday afternoon at 4:30 p.m. for the Monday edition of Master Maker. We are focusing all on macrame for the month of October. So if you want to see something different than wire, because I do a little bit of everything, come hang out with me for the month of October, where we are focusing on knots and macrame. We're going to be working on square knots and all of the cool things that you can do with square knots on Monday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. And if not, that's okay. Just set your reminders for right here, same time, same place next week on Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern time for another episode of Master Maker. We'll be making something else spooky and creepy for October. All right, everybody. Thank you so much again. I appreciate all of you. And I hope that you have an amazing week.